Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. Today, we're going to go over the latest news regarding Napoli. De Laurentiis had a lot to say about Garcia. We're also going to cover a little bit of what happened on that Fiorentina game. And I'm going to do this with a very nice guest. Welcome, guys. Gustav to the channel, fellow Napoli Talk fan. Gustav, explain to everybody why you're here today.
I'm here because I'm the winner of the predictor game of September. Because I was optimistic and didn't predict that we would lose. I have faith in Garcia still, or do I? We'll see.
Nice. So
Yeah.
let's move straight into the latest news from Napoli, which is De Laurentiis having a discussion with some university students in Rome, and they asked them a few questions, some of those pertaining to Garcia. And let's just read out first off what he said for anyone that doesn't know. He says, "With Garcia, I'm living a no moment at the moment. I am a businessman. It's in my interest to manage the company that I have. The coach and the sporting director are at my service. I will take the decisions when it's the right moment to take the decisions." And he mentioned that over the summer he had discussions with Thiago Motta, who didn't feel like joining. And he had a discussion with Luis Enrique, and he says, "Thank God we didn't get Luis Enrique because look at what he's doing at PSG now." But it means that Rudy Garcia was at least third option. Gustav, man, what do these things that De Laurentiis has said mean to you? Do you think this is Garcia out?
I do. I don't see any way for him to recover from this. Really, these comments are extreme in footballing terms. That a president of a club could go out and say this. I think it's over. And if I'm, being really generous, he's treading on very thin ice. He's gonna have to do something incredible.
Yeah. So the next three games, for example, are Verona, Union Berlin, and Milan. I think if he doesn't win these three games, then De Laurentiis will have to fire him. But also, I mean, imagine being Garcia and reading this. How would you react to something like this?
I would be overwhelmed, and I think with all these comments and the awesome hand drama, bad results, and now De Laurentiis, I think he should probably focus on one thing, but to fix all those three situations, that's hard.
And let's add to that the Maida Rui drama as well with his agent. So going to Garcia now and all these dramas, as you call it, three main players for him, Osimhen, Kvara, and Politano, every time they got substituted, they basically told them, go to hell, pretty much. This is something that I've never seen at a club before. Three different players, three different games. It seems like Garcia doesn't have the control of the dressing room. Do you think that it would have been difficult for any coach after Spalletti? Or do you think that Garcia kind of did this to himself?
Both. I think it's a very difficult situation to come in and manage the title winners with the expectations and Spalletti, the great work he did. But also, I think he brought this a bit upon himself because I think when he came in, he wanted to play his kind of football instead of the Napoli kind of football. But I think he lost the dressing room doing that, trying to force his football.
Yeah, and definitely he lost the dressing room. I think he lost the support of many fans as well with the way he does his substitutions, the timing of them, the players that he picks at times. It's really concerning because he's in a position where the dressing room doesn't follow him, the fans don't follow him, and it seems like the management of the club doesn't follow him. I almost wonder whether De Laurentiis is hoping that he resigns and that maybe in that case he doesn't have to fire him, because if you fire a coach, you have to pay him for the rest of his contract. And I don't know, it's it's a very strange situation. If we do fire Garcia, there's a few different names. Conte, maybe Gallardo, who was an ex-River Plate manager, maybe Tudor, who was at Verona and then Marseille. Do you have any sort of preference, or do you think that, for example, if we go for Conte, do you think that's a problem with the type of money that he expects you to spend and the formation that he has? Like, what's your view on a potential new manager?
Yeah, I think Conte is not quite the greatest choice because of his is it 5-back he used to play or 3-back?
Yeah, 3, which is actually 5. Yeah.
And we got 2 non-starters playing center back right now, so I don't know about that. But I don't know. I don't have a name, but I think someone who plays dynamic, fluid football. I think an offensive possession and fluid. I think that was the problem with Garcia. He wanted to play like kind of a bit lower, playing on the counter.
And if we get a coach, for example, like Gallardo, from ex-River Plate coach, who likes to play attacking football, has developed some great talents like Alvarez, who is now at City. Do you think that's a risk, the fact that he's not coached in Europe? Or at this point, do you take this risk because maybe the style matches Spalletti's a little bit more?
I would take the risk. I would think it's... I don't know if it's just me being non-Italian, but I think there's so many Italian coaches in the Serie A. I love a bit of infusion, should you call it. So I think it would be interesting at least, but if it would work, I don't know.
Regarding players, the whole matter of getting the best out of Osimhen and Kvara this season, they haven't maybe been at the same level as last season. Do you think that maybe teams have found out how to, for example, stop Kvara? Or do you think that with a new coach, maybe we can also start to see Kvara and Osimhen at last year's level?
I think Kvara, I think with a new manager and a new play style, he could come into play. But I think Osimhen, other teams they have figured out how he plays. And of course, since he had such a great season last season, he's getting man-marked like every match I see. It's really frustrating to watch. And maybe that's maybe something you can capitalize on in other places. You can give more attacking freedom to the wingers. But sometimes I just feel like we're having like 9 outfield players and the goalkeeper, even though he is, and I don't think this is a controversial opinion, are by far the great striker. I think sometimes when Raspadori comes in, something else happens, and I'm not saying he wins matches, but just something else than a man-marked Osimhen.
I do think though that it's the way that Garcia has set up the team. It doesn't allow for Osimhen to exploit his qualities in the best way. Whoever I think comes in after Garcia, assuming that someone will come in after Garcia, I think the number one priority has to be, how do I get Osimhen and Kvara back to scoring consistently, 1 goal each a game? Like, there was a period of a few months where that was happening under Spalletti. And then also, how do we get guys like Lobotka and Anguissa being consistent in the midfield back to their level? It's not going to be an easy feat.
Yeah, I have a question regarding this. I see it like the park the bus phenomenon, especially during the later stages of last season, and especially the game against Milan in the Champions League. That was difficult to watch because they were just 10 people behind the ball. So I want to ask you, if you could bring in any player or any type of player to help in those situations, who would you bring in, or what type of player would you bring in?
What I would like to see is a player of the likes of Marek Hamsik, Frank Lampard. I mean, obviously these are legends, right? But what I mean is a player that just kind of makes a run from deep, and when it's that perfect moment, when that cross comes in from the right or the left, he's able to just be that extra man in the middle, that in case the ball is not directed exactly at Osimhen, maybe he can get in front or behind him and and he would be unmarked, then I think maybe that's the only way to break down these kind of defenses, is just to get midfielders into the box and have them make these sort of runs, have them confuse the defense a little bit, because what I see is, for example, in those games that you mentioned, we were a bit static. It was just very clear how we were going to pass the ball, which runs we were making, which was not much. It was, if we were crossing, it was just Osimhen in the middle. There was a lack of just movement, I feel. And so I would love a midfielder that likes to get forward, that in these games is like, you know what, screw it, screw my defensive duties. I'll take a chance here.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. When I thought about this, I thought about bringing like a big target man, strong Lukaku type player, but I think
that's true.
Osimhen, he's enough of that already. Like,
but if you have two of those, maybe.
Yeah.
Then that's interesting, right? Gustav, it was a pleasure having you on, and thank you for participating in the predictor game. I hope you continue to do well. And if there's anything else that you want to say, here's your final chance.
All right, everybody. Like this video, subscribe to Dom, join the predictor game if you haven't done so, and as always, Forza Napoli.
Forza Napoli sempre.